What's up guys, PikaTCG here and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today guys, we'll be talking about something that's been on my mind a lot recently, just kind of when I've been looking at the current state of the Pokemon trading card game, and that is Drapion V. Now before we get into talking about Drapion, I'm sorry that I haven't uploaded for a few weeks. My technical situations have been pretty crazy. All sorts of delays, but yeah, I want to let you know that I am back and making content. I will not upload the week after this video gets uploaded, as I'll be on vacation. But yeah, without further ado, let's talk about Drapion V and why I personally think it is it is poorly designed card. So first off, Drapion V is a Dark-type Pokemon V with 210 HP, and it has an attack and an ability. It has a 2 retreat cost, and it's weak to fighting types. But let's break down a little bit of each thing here, because that was kind of a lot said in one thing. So, Drapion has the Dynamic Tail attack for 190 damage for 4 colorless energy, and this attack does 60 damage to one of your own Pokemon, and don't apply weakness and resistance to benched Pokemon. So off the bat, when you see Drapion, it looks pretty bad if you just look at the attack. 190 for 4 energies, and you have to do 60 to one of your own Pokemon. Like, that's not really that good, and I don't think that would be really any play. Choice Belt would bump it up to 220. It would only be able to knock out basic Vs, so Dynamic Tail seems really bad. But then we have the wonderful ability Wild Style, and this is where the card really gets annoying. And the ability Wild Style says this Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colorless energy less for each of your opponent's Single Strike, Rapid Strike, and Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. Now, Drapion has this ability, obviously, but we'll break it down a little bit too on why it's a problem and why I think it was personally kind of an unfair card to print in the current way that it is. But that ability makes it just so broken to slap into decks, and that might explain why you've been seeing Drapion in almost every single deck that you look at nowadays. It's because of this Wild Style ability and because of its typing. Drapion is overall a very useful card against one deck, and one deck specifically, and that is Mew VMAX. Now, just right off the bat, I'm going to let you know that I am a Mew VMAX player, and this is kind of just a commentary as a Mew player, how it feels to be up against someone who plays Drapion, and how they play Drapion. And so this has a heavy amount of opinion into it, especially favored towards Mew, but I will try and keep my I will try and be balanced on both sides of the equation here and be fair to credit Drapion where Drapion does need credit. So if you guys don't agree with me, that's totally okay. I'd love to hear your opinion down in the comments, but please just be respectful and know that these are all my own opinions, and they're coming from a Mew player who obviously does not like Drapion, but once again, I will try and be as fair as possible. So yeah, Drapion is used, as I said before, it's used against Mew VMAX, and Mew VMAX has been around since Fusion Strike, so it's been around for quite a long time. Now, the reason why Drapion is so good is because of its Wild Style ability and its typing. So Wild Style again reads that it costs a colorless energy less for each of your opponent's Single, Rapid, and Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. Emphasis on the Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. Now, if I remember correctly, unless there's like some sort of wacky deck out there, Mew is the only deck, the only Fusion Strike deck that really is significant in this modern format, in Silver Tempest Crown Zenith format. So, in the Dark typing, it really is like, it just seems that they like saw Mew, they were like, oh, this is like really overpowered, and so we're gonna make a whole bunch of counters for it. Now, we have seen counters before in the past for different decks, and we'll get into that again a little bit later, but it seems that they kind of just threw this card in there because they were tired. Someone obviously was tired of losing to Mew all the time, so they're just like, you know what, we'll create a card that directly counters Mew in every way possible. So, again, we're heading into opinion territory over here, so if you don't want to hear the opinion, really, then this is kind of your chance to go somewhere else or do what you need to do. Again, if you don't agree with me, I'm totally okay with that. I respect each and every one of your opinions. But yeah, we're going to head deep into the opinion side of things in just a minute here. So, the reason why I think that this card is poorly designed, it's just unfair. It's completely unfair. Like, you expect, let's think here, sorry. It's unfair to a Mew player because it's so easy to just slap down this card and then attack with it for free. And it one-shots a Mew VMAX by doing 380 damage. 360 if you have Oricorio in play as a Mew player. So that gets incredibly annoying because they like out of nowhere, this Drapion can just be slapped down on the bench. It can be switched into the active spot, and you can Dynamic Tail for an insta-KO on a Mew VMAX, which is a free 3 prize cards. And with the new Sky Seal Stone, you can take 4 prize cards for free off of a Mew VMAX, which is completely unfair, because this is normally used in like counter boxes, or even now in Lugia, where Mew already has a tough time against Lugia because they're both kind of it's a race to the finish. But Drapion it's like if you were to be running a foot race and Drapion, your opponent was Lugia. If you're like Mew and you're running right next to this Lugia guy just like kind of throws his leg out and trips you because the Drapion is like the leg that's tripping you up, and all of a sudden you're about to lose because this Drapion just came out of nowhere and completely wrecked your board. It completely ruined the game for you. And that's really where I have the biggest problem with Drapion, is because it's so easy to get into play. It's so easy to just slap down. And when people are playing Mew, they know that there is a high probability that their opponent is playing Drapion. And I'm telling you, I have played hundreds of games with Mew VMAX, and I still get super annoyed every single time that they place down a Drapion, because it's like, it's just really annoying. If you're a Mew player, you kind of know what I mean. If you don't play Mew and you're all for like Mew must die, then you absolutely love this card. So you love it or you hate it. But I'm kind of one of those people who absolutely despises this card in every way, shape, and form. But I do agree that this card was needed to balance Mew VMAX. As I kind of stated before, Mew is an overpowered deck, and I believe it's like second place on Limitless TCG, which I know is just how many people are playing the deck, but they're playing Mew for a reason. They're playing Mew because it's really good. It's constantly consistent. It's hard hitting, very fast. Whether you're playing Double Turbo Mew, you're playing Fusion Strike Mew, you're playing Mew Aerodactyl. There are so many different ways that you can be playing Mew VMAX, and they're all equally very powerful. And I can see why people wanted something against Mew. The only problem with Mew getting Drapion is we've already seen tons of dark types, tons of dark type counters. We've gotten Baby Moltres, we've gotten Moltres V, we've gotten even freaking Crobat VMAX, dude. Like, there are so many dark types that are viable in the format right now. We've got Weezing, we've got Eternatus, like, to the point where it just becomes so irritating to play Mew. And if it's like, this is the nail in the coffin where you just don't want to play Mew, or if you're just like, well, don't play Mew, you're getting countered all the time, that's not really that fair, because sure, Lugia has its fair share of counters, but 8's able to get through them because it has Canceling Cologne, it's got Big Parcel, it's got Dunsparce, it's got really a whole bunch of things that protect it from insta-losing to maybe an opposing Raikou V or Raikou Amazing Rare, because they don't have to deal with weakness. And that's where Drapion really becomes the biggest problem, is because of that dark typing, which Mew is weak to. Now, I believe that the card was designed pretty poorly, in my opinion. Like, so obviously, this is probably not true, but I like to think of it as someone was definitely butthurt after they lost way too many times to a Mew VMAX deck, so they decided to create the Wild Style ability. Off the bat, like, if Drapion were to be a little bit nerfed, that would be totally fair to me, but that Wild Style ability really is what really ticks me and other Mew players off, is that Wild Style ability. And the ability, they had to put Single and Rapid Strike, otherwise it would just totally be, like, people would just know automatically, hey, this is for Mew. We only created this for Mew. So they threw in Single Strike and Rapid Strike. Now, do you really think that this card was made for Single or Rapid Strike? No, it definitely wasn't. It's weak to fighting types, which both the main Single and Rapid Strike decks are fighting types. You've got Single Strike and Rapid Strike Urshifu, and I guarantee you that you're not going to go Dynamic Tail for only 190 damage against a Rapid Strike Urshifu or a Single Strike Urshifu VMAX and do 60 to your own Pokemon. Like, that's just not going to happen. You're not going to be playing Drapion for that matter. Or if you're facing, like, I don't know, Rapid Strike Malamar or some, like, weird single prize, or, like, some weird Single Strike deck, you're not going to slap down Drapion to do 190, which is nice, I guess. But it's like a free 2-prizer in that case, where your opponent's taking is yielding up 1 prize card. You're yielding 2 for 190 and a 60 to one of your own Pokemon. So it was only designed for Mew VMAX, and like I could really argue that this card was really made for Strike. Just kind of throw something in the mix. That's probably an argument you can make, but at the end of the day, it really just feels like Drapion was designed just to try and kill Mew. Just put the nail in the coffin. Boom, we want Mew gone. We want Mew out of the format. Now, what could Pokemon really have done in order to balance this card a little bit more than just an insta-death for Mew? They could really, my only gripe is obviously the Wild Style ability, which honestly is fair, is a fair ability, but they could have done, I think, like one of a few things. The first one is have Dynamic Tail do 160 damage. Even if there's no 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, like if it were just Dynamic Tail 160, no 60 to one of your Pokemon, that's totally okay. Like, that seems fair. 320 weakness is knocking out Mew, but that means that they would need a choice belt in order to knock out if your opponent is playing Oricorio, which would mean that you would be reduced to 300. If you had choice belt, you'd still get the knockout, but it would still be at least a little bit more fair and would require a little bit more effort than just putting it down and immediately KOing the Mew, because that's just not fair. You could also have Dynamic Tail have 1 Dark Energy, so you have to have at least 1 Dark Energy. Now, Drapion, when I was kind of looking into Drapion and some of the things about it for this video, when I was just double checking and looking over Drapion for this video, I did notice that is incredibly similar to Galarian Zapdos V and how that countered Arceus V-Star when it came out, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are drawing similarities to that right now, but Zapdos still needed a fighting energy in order to attack the Arceus, or still to any Pokemon really. It still needed a fighting energy, and I could really see it would be way more fair if Drapion had 1 Dark Energy on it. If Dynamic Tail is gonna do 190 and insta KO, no matter what your opponent's Mew deck does, then I think it would at least be fair enough to just make one Dark Energy on there, so you can't just put down the Drapion. You have to be able to attach one energy onto it. Like, that's not that big of a problem, I'd say, for stuff like Lost Box or whatever deck you're playing Drapion in. A lot of decks like to play different energy cards, and so I could see even just one Dark Energy is all you need for Drapion. And if you want to throw Drapion into Eternatus or something like that, which I honestly don't see why you do that, then you already have that Dark Energy in your deck. Like, it doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense to me, and I think that's where I get the most frustrated, is that they made it too easy. They made it way too easy, and Sky Seal Stone is a whole nother situation. I kind of already touched up on it, but it's just so annoying. Like, I honestly just think that Drapion was made too overpowered. It was designed a bit poorly, and lazily, just to try and kill off a deck that has been controversial on, like, if it should be nerfed or whatever. Honestly, I would say if anything were to be nerfed, it would be Drapion V. Now, if you're a Mew player and you've kind of stuck around to the end here, and you want to know how to counter Drapion, and I guess really for all you Drapion players, this is good for you too, how you can counter Drapion. Now, there are 3 main ways that you can counter Drapion, I'd say. First off, Lost City. If you are playing Mew and your opponent sends up a Drapion, there's a high chance that they're going to have a way to recycle the Drapion and get it back into play on another turn. So I would say if you're facing against a deck that plays Drapion, place down Lost City when you're ready to knock out the Drapion, and Lost on the Drapion, because they can't Ordinary Rod or Clara or Ditto V the Drapion back into play. The second thing is Path to the Peak. Path to the Peak is an incredibly crazy good card in Mew right now, because now you can just Lost Vacuum your own path whenever you're ready to get that out of the way, and then you can slap down another path whenever you're ready. Now, this turns off Drapion's Wild Style ability, which means that they would have to actually attach energies, or they'd have to bump the stadium, which again is a little bit more effort. But a lot of people have been strangely arguing that, like, you can double Mirageate on Drapion. Like, you can do that. You can, by all means, if that's how you can win the game, Drapion players, go for it. But that seems like a really resource extensive thing to do. So Path is really good for against Drapion, just as a really good counter. And the last thing is Aerodactyl V-Star. Aerodactyl V-Star has been seen in a lot of Mew decks. I hope when I have a chance to record again, I will make a Mew Aerodactyl list, the one that I've been using in locals. I've actually gone undefeated for the past 3 locals in a row with my Mew deck, and especially Mew Aerodactyl, so we'll cover that later on the channel. But Mew Aerodactyl is pretty good. Aerodactyl does create some consistency issues in regards to if you can get your Aerodactyl before your opponent gets a Drapion down, or you draw less cards because you can't get rid of your Aerodactyl. There's just a whole bunch of different contributing factors to why it's good, because it shuts off Drapion's ability until they get the Aerodactyl out of play. But it also it has its own problems. But honestly, I'd say if you really are tired of Drapion, then play Aerodactyl. At least try Aerodactyl. But yeah, final thoughts. Drapion, I just feel as a Mew player, is a bit unfair. It was poorly designed. But I understand its significance in this format, especially if it weren't there, Mew would be all over the place, it would be running rampant, it would be destroying everything. So I understand for some sort of counter. I just wish that it wasn't this direct, or it wasn't this unfair, or this frustrating, really. But yeah, that's really going to do it for this video. Thank you all for listening to my rant against Drapion, and why I feel it is an unfair, unbalanced card. but also needed at the same time. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. If you guys want to see more stuff like this, if you want to see more card reviews, if you want to see more deck profiles, or just like opening cards on the channel, let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up this video. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, God bless, and have fun out there. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.